Let me read two statements that are really, really intriguing. And I think this really sums up the next election when it comes to what people are going to do, whether they're going to vote for Trump or not. Please don't get triggered by the first one. The second one's going to make more sense to you, I promise, if the first one triggers you. So here's Katrina Pearson. She was a campaign spokesperson for Donald Trump in 2016. She said, I find it hysterical that the weaponization of the DOJ is suddenly a new thing. People voted for Trump because he claimed to want to drain the swamp. The deep state was the pinnacle of his 2016 campaign, and one of the main reasons I chose to work for him. He decided not to drain the swamp and appointed the very people who tried to prevent his 2016 win to top posts in the swamp. He even kept the Obama holdovers, for crying out loud. What exactly did you expect was going to happen? How many times do you have to get punched in the face before you realize that it's not because he loves you? Don't be outraged, acknowledge the facts, and place the accountability where it belongs. Then maybe common sense will make an overdue comeback. Also, me, I told you so. Carry on. So she was Donald Trump's, I believe, campaign spokesperson in 2016 at one point. She played a huge role in his 2016 rise. And she's telling people, why is everyone being so fake about this stuff? Here's Cernovich, who really sums up what people are voting on when it comes to Trump and DeSantis. Let's take a look. Cernovich says the case for Trump is all the demons want to destroy him. The case against Trump is he was in office and didn't do anything. He could have too. He was warned repeatedly about coup plots. Voters have to decide on which side of the scale is more compelling. Whether you agree with Katrina Pearson or not, I think Cernovich nailed it. You know, all the demons want to destroy Trump. That's the case for Trump. The case against Trump is he was in office and he didn't get the job done. He could have, but he didn't. And he was warned repeatedly, but still didn't do anything. That's really what it comes down to, whether you like him or not. It's like, which side of that argument is more compelling? Do you think, yeah, I see all his flaws. I see what he didn't do. I see that he fell short, but all the bad people are against him. So I'm going to vote for him because that means something. That must mean he's an outsider, or that must inspire. I hope it inspires him to actually do it this time. And hopefully they pushed him to the point where he understands what's going on now. And then the other side, like the Katrina Pearsons and the millions of people who are done with it, are like, listen, I voted for him once. I voted for him twice. He didn't get the job done, and I don't see that he's going to do it. So I'm going to vote for the guy that seems more mature and pragmatic and actually executes on his ideas more than Trump. That's what it comes down to. People can go either way, but I think Cerno nailed it. And personally, I agree with Katrina. I mean, I didn't work on his 2016 campaign, but she did. She's like, why are people acting like this is a new concept that we just didn't know about? Like, the whole thing we were running on was to stop this. We didn't stop it. And then exactly what we all knew would happen happened. Like, it, at least just don't act surprised by it. What more is left to be said? It's going to be an ugly year, a lot of infighting, a lot of people's true character will be revealed. There's going to be a lot of nasty personal attacks. It's going to get very tribal. I think the Trump versus DeSantis thing, as much as people want to say, well, it's DeSantis's fault for running, he's dividing people. I don't think a primary necessarily divides people if you can be honest about it. But what I think is happening personally, and I've said this for years, let me be first clear. There's a lot of great people on our side. There's hundreds of millions of great people who are conservative and Republicans. And I've met so many amazing people and families. And I don't want that to get overblown and seem like I'm a hater. I understand that most people are great people. And honestly, most people are not online to comment all the time. So that's not even real life. So let's get it out of the way. I love most Republicans. With that being said, the reason I critique all the time is I feel like our movement is really fake. Like, I'm at the point now where I think that most influencers are fake. I think they're hypocrites. I think they have the same double standards they complain about in the left. And I think the reason that Trump and DeSantis is so ugly is for two reasons. Trump demands loyalty and doesn't want to be challenged, so his supporters just follow suit and assume that if you disagree with Trump, even if you're right and he's wrong, or you take a principled stance and he goes further left, it's your fault for even disagreeing with him because he's our secret Lord, and no one should ever challenge our Lord. That's kind of the dynamic of it. So I don't think DeSantis versus Trump is making people act crazy. I think people's true character is being revealed. I don't care if you like Trump and I don't care if you like DeSantis, but how you act is not Trump's fault and it's not DeSantis's fault. If I do something crazy on my live stream, Trump didn't make me do that. Even if I act insane one day and you say, I used to like Anomaly and he's gone nuts over Trump, I'm not going to sit and blame Donald Trump and be like, oh, Trump made me do it. That's really fake. I'm responsible for my actions. No matter what Biden does or DeSantis does or Trump does, no one made me do anything. I'm an adult. I'm responsible for my emotions, my statements, my actions. So just this idea that I'm seeing that so many people, I'm not going to say it's just the Trump side, but especially on the Trump side, are pushing this narrative of it's so divisive and because DeSantis is running and that's why people are acting crazy. No politician has the power to make you do something like in that sense. Like I needed to freak out at it. No, this is showing the true character of our party. A lot of people love dunking on the left because it's easy. It's easy to dunk on the left because they're insane. It's actually hilarious. I just made a video about not Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin. And you get what I'm saying? It's like a Lockheed Martin gay rally, and now they're with the war agenda. It's like, it is hilarious. I get why people do it. It's really funny. And there's a huge economy around just making fun of the left all the time. I enjoy some of it too. I'm not going to lie. It's very funny. But you got to understand a lot of people do that 100% of the time because they're not actually good people themselves and they actually aren't that much better. They just wear a MAGA hat while they are the same person that they were 4 years. It's like, so I think now that DeSantis and Trump are challenging each other, people will say that they're being forced to do this from all the division. But in reality, a lot of these influencers have been just basically riding Trump's coattails for years. And that's all they really know is how to just say what other people say, copy and paste PragerU quotes, butcher what Thomas Sowell said better 30 years ago and mess it up in a Fox News interview. There's a lot of people that have gotten very lazy with their craft and lazy with how they think. So I don't think that this is bringing it out of people. I think this was always in conservatives. And now you're seeing the ugly truth of what we already saw. If you don't realize that the Republican Party is full of it from the 2020 big pharma tyranny that they set us up for, like what I understand why people don't see it too. On Twitter, this one guy called me an idiot. And I don't care, but there's a reason I'm bringing this up because I've said on my stream, if people do watch more than once, I've said multiple times on Twitter, every time people get mad at me, nearly every time, and I go to their Twitter, like they say something super rude or they're angry at me, I click on their Twitter, and I've said this months ago. I said this 6 months ago multiple times. I said, there's two accounts that they're always retweeting. It's Cat Turd and El Donaldo Trumpo. Cat Turd is some guy who hides behind a cat meme, which is nothing wrong with. I'm not trying to dox the guy or anything. Whatever, do your Cat Turd thing. God bless the guy. But he's like a Trump sycophant. That's just what he is. It's like constant Trump, 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 Trump. He's never once questioned Trump in his life, and he probably never will. And then El Donaldo Trumpo is like a parody account that's obviously 100% Trump, 0% any other perspective. So I said, every time people get mad at me, I don't care. But they're always retweeting those two accounts. And this morning I woke up, he said, you're an idiot. I clicked on his thing. You'll never guess. The first two retweets, I'm not joking. Cat Turd was number one. El Donaldo Trumpo was number two. There's these accounts, and I'm not saying they don't have the right to do it. It's America, but they're programming Republicans into being NPCs, and they're just getting people pissed and angry. But people can't even see that their own party is kind of in on it because they follow these accounts that will not post that type of stuff. It's very basic programming for right wingers. And I notice a 90 to 95% accuracy of everyone who gets mad at me only retweets accounts like that. Just an observation. With that being said, that's what this next election really is. Those two tweets that I read. It's like, some people feel like Donald Trump, although it's wrong what's going on, he kind of set himself up. He said he'd drain the swamp. He said he'd hire a special prosecutor to look at Hillary's emails. Nothing really got done in that department. Now he's running on the campaign of doing what he didn't do the first time. He's running on putting a special prosecutor for Biden, which is exactly what he said about Hillary in 2016, didn't get done. He says he's running on, wrangling in big pharma, and he's basically just copy and pasting RFK Jr.'s campaign slogan because RFK is pushing him. And I don't like, so either you're taking one of two sides. You're either taking the side of all the demons and all the evil people hate Donald Trump. All the bad guys hate Donald Trump. They're coming after him. They're trying to persecute him. I got to vote for him because I'm hoping that he's going to put it back in their face. And I'm hoping that that means that he really is real. And that proves that he's real if they're all coming after him. Or you're taking the other side of, although I appreciate what he did, and although I understand that there are bad people trying to persecute him, it feels like he didn't do what he said the first time. And my personal analysis of it is I don't really see signs of it happening again. I think a lot of people are looking at it saying, well, I want it to happen. I want that to happen. So I'm just going to assume it is. But I'm always looking for evidence. Like all these neocons and rhinos and warhawks and Democrats and shills that he hired the first time, are there signs that he's changed? Because she mentioned in her tweet that he left all the Obama holdovers. Do you think Joe Biden would leave a bunch of Trump holdovers? Do you think he'd let Trump's people just sit there? Of course not. Why would a Democrat do that? They're not stupid. Our side's stupid, though. They'll leave them. You know why they'll leave them? I don't know. So they can complain about it 4 years later and fundraise. The Republicans are fake. But anyway, either you're like, okay, he's going to do it this time. But I don't really see evidence of that. Name 5 people around Trump that you really trust that he could put in positions. I don't really see it. I don't know. Who's he going to hire? Like, did he stop hanging out with Lindsey Graham? He's closer to Lindsey Graham than he's ever been. He won't even really badmouth Gavin Newsom because he says that they're friends and he doesn't want to badmouth Gavin Newsom, but he has no problem badmouthing Kayleigh McEnany, who did a good job for him. He has no problem badmouthing Florida and making up, pushing Democrat COVID propaganda based on the data that he's not even honest about. So to the people that like him, I understand, but like why you think that he's going to do it because you want him to do it and he must do it because of what they did to him. I see it as he's way more comfortable critiquing people who are honest around him than he is around people who lick his shoes. And Gavin Newsom plays him like a fiddle. He literally said in an interview, I don't want to hit Gavin Newsom because we get along. It shows you how easy it is to play Trump like a fiddle. If you're Gavin Newsom, just say what he wants to hear, and then you can walk all over him. If you're Thomas Massie, you telling the truth to him is wrong. If you're Kayleigh McEnany, saying a poll number that he doesn't want to hear, that's wrong. Questioning him, that's wrong. But if you suck up to him, doesn't matter if you're John Bolton, Gavin Newsom, Mike Pompeo, Chris Christie, you could walk all over Trump and nothing has changed. But some people think that it will change. That's your right as a voter. I've made my opinion clear. And then people will say, you really are simping for DeSantis. And you lost me when you trust him. Where did I say I trust Ron DeSantis? Where did I say he's anything but a politician? Where did I not call out the things that I disagree with? It's just objectively looking at it. I think all the flaws that DeSantis have are equal to Trump. And he's proven that he knows how to wield power better and actually has a strategic plan where I don't believe what Trump says because I just don't see the evidence that he's going to actually do it. But I do find that back and forth between Cernovich and Katrina Pearson fascinating because that's what it really does come down to, even if you disagree with me. It's like one side of the equation feels like, especially even people who did work with him in 2016, they're not doing it. All of that. Some of them are unloyal maybe, but most of them, they're not like, oh, I hate the guy. I hate him. It's just like, I worked for him thinking he was going to drain the swamp. He didn't. He hired the swamp. He has no shame about it. He never takes accountability for it. And he still has swamp friends around him that he doesn't even care about. So I'm going to go the other way because I feel like this guy's a little bit more serious about doing something than Trump. And then there's people like Cerno said that will say, yeah, that didn't happen, but there's so many bad people who hate Donald Trump that must mean that he's going to do something. Or this idea that he was completely powerless the first time. Of course, that's not true, but people will go on with that. They'll be like, there's nothing else he could have done. Now that it's a party of like excuse making, we should make excuses for Mitch McConnell too, right? And Paul Ryan. Now, how come nobody ever makes excuses for Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan? Well, he couldn't do this and he couldn't do that. Only Donald Trump. He's the only one in the party that can neutralize the base and basically shut off their brains, and they have no spine. They make excuses for things they don't believe in. It's truly like psychologically fascinating. Anyone else, they'll stand up to, they take a strong line. They'll literally bite Marjorie Taylor Greene's head off for doing the same thing Trump did. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they smear personally, try to ruin her life for taking the same stance Donald Trump took. But then everybody just magically pretends like it never happened. Personally, I just don't understand how that's ever going to work if people don't actually believe what they say. But, I'm only one person. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. It really comes down to that. Let me know what side you're on. Are you on the Trump side where you think that if all the bad guys hate him, that must mean he's a good person? And if all the bad guys are coming for him, that not only means he's good, but that also means that he's going to do something and he's really going to stick it to him this time? If you're on that side, I also want to ask the question genuinely, Do you think that he did try the first time, or do you think he fell short? Because there are some people on the Trump side. A lot of people will say, he did kind of mess up, he did fail, he did get tricked, he did get fooled. And then there's other people who say, no, he did everything he could do. He tried his best. It's healthy to have disagreements. I'm just wondering what side you're on. If you're on the Trump side, are you on the side of, yeah, he did yet mess up. Yeah, he did get fooled. Yeah, he did pick bad advisors. Yeah, he kind of screwed us, but I got to give him another chance because he just didn't know what he was up against, and now he knows? Or are you on the side, like many are, that say, no, he did nothing wrong ever. Like everything he did was strategic. The lockdown was a secret plan to save the world, and he hired the people to keep his enemies close, and he gave big pharma power to expose them. There's very different opinions on the Trump side, and I'm just curious which you land on. And then if you're not on the Trump side, if you're for DeSantis or RFK or something, just curious as your reason. Right now, I'll be 100% honest. Someone said the only thing I recall you said about DeSantis is he took accountability for his mistakes about the COVID lockdowns. Well, let me put it this way. I have a little bit of time. I'm going to keep this one under 50 minutes, but with RFK, Trump, and DeSantis, I see the pros and the cons in all of them, right? I see the pros in RFK. I see what I don't like. I see the pros in DeSantis. I see what I don't like. I see the pros in Donald Trump. I see what I don't like. Here's what I don't like about the campaign Trump's running. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a fool. I'm not dumb. I'm not someone who does like the Men in Black. Like, I'm not going to erase my brain because I like somebody and act like I know nothing. God didn't put you on this planet to be character number 5,472. He gave you a brain. He gave you a soul. You're allowed to disagree with someone if you like them, if they're lying to you, especially in politics, folks. This is politics. This is not patty cakes. This is not a barbecue. It's politics. You're supposed to pay attention. This is like the trickiest arena in the world that they're constantly lying to you on both sides. Who told you that you're not supposed to stand up for yourself? Anyway, on that note, the thing that I like about DeSantis and RFK more than Trump now, it's not that I agree with them on everything. It's not that I think they're so amazing and they're not going to sell out in any category. They both will in categories I already know. But RFK is being a lot more genuine and authentic, and he's telling a lot more truth. DeSantis, watch a DeSantis interview. You don't have to believe that he'll do it. You don't have to like him, but how much is he really lying? There's certain topics that I don't agree with, but for the most part, and some things he's a little flip-floppy, but his campaign is not built on lies right now. Trump's campaign is built on lies. And I'm not saying this from a Democrat perspective. It's like in order to attack DeSantis, he's saying things that he doesn't believe and his base doesn't believe in order to make him look bad. Why didn't Trump say Florida was so bad with the COVID deaths 3 years ago? Because only Democrats were saying that, because it's not even true. They don't even mention per capita. They don't mention average age. They don't mention excess mortality from other deaths. And most importantly, they're not telling you how they're counting cases and deaths, which is insane, which in my opinion makes most of the data completely not legit anyway. That's the truth of what I said for 3 years before Trump ever said anything. Now that DeSantis is running, instead of Trump being like, I'm better on this, I'm better on that, I do better than DeSantis, Trump is lying. His campaign is built on lies and just personal attacks. Meatball killed a bunch of people in Florida. Meatball, it's not a good place to live or retire. Trump doesn't believe these things, and he never would have said that if DeSantis would have ran. Me, on the other hand, I've been saying these things for 3 years. Now, all of a sudden, people are calling me a DeSimp because I'm saying what I said in 2020. It was true then, it's true now. So that's why I like RFK and DeSantis more than Trump. I'm not necessarily telling you that they have better foreign policy. I think Trump does a great job, but he's just running a campaign of lies. I'm not asking him to. I'm not like, yo, Trump, gaslight me on COVID because you don't like DeSantis. Gaslight me hard. I'm not asking him to do that. But the reason I like DeSantis, when I listen to him now, he has actual strategy of what to do, and he has never been president. So there's this idea of, well, look what he did in Florida. He did some things I disagree with his power, but for the most part, I think DeSantis ran circles around Donald Trump during COVID. And half the reason that America got open was because DeSantis U-turned faster than most governors, not all of them, and he became the de facto leader against mandates and locked. And Trump was busy selling vaccines and taking half-assed stances. So everybody knows that DeSantis helped lead the country towards freedom, even if he messed up just like Trump messed up. The difference is DeSantis turned quicker than Trump and started pushing in the right direction. Trump knows that. His base knows that. They're deleting tweets saying he's the best governor, he's leading the country, and now they're saying that he killed too many people in Florida. So this is the truth, guys. I'm not saying that this guy's going to do better than this guy. RFK is very authentic. He's very genuine. He makes some mistakes. He says some things I disagree with, but he's running an honest campaign. DeSantis, don't fully trust him. He's a politician. I don't think you should worship him like people do Donald Trump. But if you listen to him speak, he's a lot more genuine than Donald Trump's being right now. Trump is choosing to run a campaign of lies and personal attacks. I'm not asking him to. He says some true things, but I don't really believe him anymore. He sold out his campaign to pharmacy lobbyists. He literally hired lobbyists at FDA, HHS, let Big Pharma run all over him the first term. And now, because RFK says something, he's like, yeah, I think the same. We know you knew that before you got into office, but you didn't do it. So why should I believe you're going to do it? RFK has a history of 15 years of doing this. DeSantis hired Joseph Ladapo in Florida, who's a surgeon general against Big Pharma. That hire alone is bigger than anything Trump's ever done. So when DeSantis says it, he has that 2016 Trump of like, maybe he'll do it if he gets into office. With RFK, it's like he's been consistent on this for 20 years. With Trump, it's like he was in office for 4 years. He didn't do it. And now he's saying he's going to do it. Like the Biden thing. If Trump was never in office and he said, I'm going to put a special prosecutor to go after Biden, I would be like, he might do it. But he said the same thing in 2016 with Hillary and he didn't do anything. So it's hard for me to really trust him at all, combined with the fact that he's knowingly lying about COVID. You know, something that DeSantis will say, whether you like him or not, he says that the inflation is not just from Democrats. It's from the money printing of Republicans and Trump in 2020. Whether you think he's saying this because he really believes it or not, that's the truth. Guys, you know, before anybody hated DeSantis, before anybody said a bad thing about him, before anybody told you to hate him, I was saying this since 2020. I had a debate with the Styx Hexenhammer guy saying this exact thing. Everyone got mad at me. So people will act like it's my fault that I realized that DeSantis is telling the truth about that. Thomas Massey's telling the truth about that. And Donald Trump is pathologically lying about it and the rest of the Republican Party. Of course, they want to win an election. I understand. They can't tell you that they sold you out. Who's going to vote for someone if they say, hey, you guys have Stockholm syndrome. We sold you out, but we're better than the left. We are better than the left, but we did kind of sell you out and we did help cause inflation. No one would vote for them. So most of the Republican Party and Trump is running on this idea that Biden caused all the inflation and they never did anything, but only DeSantis and Thomas Massey are telling the truth. It's the truth, whether you agree with it or not. So it's like, I listened to DeSantis talk about COVID and the data and his mistakes. He has humility. He's like, I did make a mistake for the first 2 months. Then I flipped it around. I was wrong about this. I flipped it around. I hired this person. We printed too much money. And Trump's like, Florida, COVID deaths. Cuomo had less deaths, without mentioning per capita. Even per capita, it's like, how are they counting cases, Trump? How are they counting deaths? How are they using the PCR test? He's not a truth teller. He's a politician. So that's my take on it. You know, if that's what people want, that's not what I want. If he wants to earn my vote, Trump, he has to be the most honest candidate. In 2020, I voted for him over Biden because he's more honest than Biden. I like Trump more than Biden, 10 times out of 10. In 2018, I voted all Republicans. In 2022, I voted all Republicans. I vote for the better candidate every time. Trump, he has good foreign policy, but he's not telling truth anymore. So I don't understand what type of campaign he's trying to run, but it doesn't appeal to me. If that appeals to you, Trump gaslighting you and lying to you about things that he doesn't believe and his base doesn't believe in order to make DeSantis look bad, then that appeals to you. It doesn't appeal to me. If he could appeal to me by telling the truth about DeSantis and telling the truth about RFK Jr., Trump could say, you know, they're nice guys, whatever, but they do this wrong. They do this wrong. I do this better. I'm going to do this better. I'm going to do this better. Then I'd be like, all right, I'll vote for Trump. He's better. You know, he's being honest. He's not being honest. That's not going to appeal to me. And I know he's surrounded by a bunch of phonies and yes, man, that's why he's saying that. I guarantee you 8 months ago, if I were to say to every Trump supporter, do you think that Florida killed so many people? Do you think the death rate's so high in Florida? They would say, no, let me look at the data. That doesn't mention per capita, which is everything. You can't say it's the third most deaths when they have more people than Maine or something. You got to do per capita. Then you also have to look at excess mortality because they're just saying everything's a death from COVID. They're not looking at all the people they killed with lockdowns. Then you got to look at the PCR tests and how they're counting cases. And then you'll come to the conclusion that this data is BS anyway. But anyway, long story short, if I were to say this 9 months ago, Trump would agree with me. Every Trump advisor would agree with me. Every Trump supporter would agree with me, because that's what everyone was saying for 3 years. Now, because DeSantis is running against Trump, Trump wants to look good against him. But instead of just telling the truth to look good, Trump is digging into his bag to agree with Cuomo and Democrats and CNN over the reality of what really happened. So now people that support him are becoming pathological liars also. They're saying, no, this, that. And I was like, dude, I've done reporting on this 1,000 times. If there's one thing I knew in my career, if there's one thing I spent the most time on, it was covering this stuff during lockdown. You could look at all my videos from 2020. I spent thousands of hours covering this stuff. My opinion's not going to change based on Trump taking the opinion of Democrats and CNN. That's insane. How do people not see what a spell he has on them? So it's not saying that you can't vote for him for this reason or that reason, but for those who want to know why I believe what I believe, I like a lot of things about Donald Trump. I think he's funny, but out of him, RFK, even Vivek, I don't even like or trust Vivek Ramaswamy. Couldn't trust the guy less. He's even running a more honest campaign, and I don't even like him than Trump. It's like Trump, it has the name recognition. He's the leader of people's hearts and souls, and people would probably get on their knees and, cry to the Lord to save them before they even prayed for their own family, which is what you can do. It's your right to do that. But, I personally, from someone that liked him a lot, I think he's running the least honest campaign out of all of those people. And I think that he's better than Biden. That's what I could say. He's better than Biden. He's better than Biden. He's better foreign policy than Biden. He'll hire better judges than Biden. He'll do almost everything better than Biden. That's what Trump will do. He's better than Biden. Is he better than DeSantis? The jury's still out, but as somebody that doesn't even trust DeSantis that much, I don't think so. I'd rather roll the dice on that guy and give him a shot rather than let the clown show continue with the guy who never takes accountability for what he didn't do last time. And I would argue that his team now is worse than it was in 2016. He had way better people around him in 2016 than he does now. I don't know. It's like he lets the worst people spend 4 years in his White House. He kicks out Steve Bannon, who actually liked him. Say what you want about Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon loves Donald Trump. Steve Bannon would probably chop off his leg for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump takes that loyalty and has no loyalty in return. Dude, Steve Bannon would probably literally chop his fingers off for a chance to save this country and help Donald Trump. And Trump said he was crying. He's a dog. Kicked him out. Let Jared Kushner stay. Let the pharmacy lobbyists stay. But he's not responsible because this is a movement of zero self-accountability, 100% idol worship. And it doesn't matter that he's running the least honest campaign out of everybody. It's not that. You should just like it anyway and find reasons to make excuses for things you actually don't believe, just to make excuses for stuff you don't believe. It's pretty wild. But it is what it is. That's my take. God bless you guys. It's going to be a long year. Stay blessed. Stay happy. Enjoy yourselves. And I hope you enjoyed the show today. It's been the Dream Rare podcast. And real quick, thank you to everybody supporting on Patreon. It means a lot. Obviously, it's a economic crisis of some sort. So thank you to everybody supporting for $5, $10. There's 8 secret episodes right now. If you support on Facebook, there's 8 episodes. If you support on Patreon, there's 8 episodes. It's easier to look at Patreon, but thank you guys supporting there. If you want extra content, behind the scenes stuff, we got 8 full podcasts and episodes behind there, some audio, some video.